Now, I wanted the first movie that I talk about to be something special, but in hindsight, I may have been off a little more than I could chew, because I chose the movie Millennium Actress. And if you have seen this movie, or really any Satoshi Kon film, you would know that they are, for lack of better words, very special. So I'm honestly a little worried that I only end up underselling the movie, because they're just that good. So this might be a challenge. Before getting into the film, I want to briefly talk about the premise, kind of like looking at the back of a DVD, so that you could get a general idea of what's about. The plot of the movie is that two documentary filmmakers are investigating the life of a legendary actress who retired many years ago, disappearing from the public eye. As she tells her life story, the two filmmakers are metaphorically pulled into it and experience everything firsthand as if they're actually there. And this is one of my favorite things about the movie, because it creates a nice balance between this dramatic story of an actress's life and the light-hearted atmosphere of a comedic duo who help relieve the tension when needed. And if that sounded interesting to you at all, I really do suggest checking it out. It's a pretty easy watch, being under 90 minutes long. And while I didn't watch it on there, at the time of this recording, it can be watched for free on demand at Pluto TV. And I'm obviously not sponsored, by the way, just want to make it easy for people to find it. Though I do use Pluto all the time when I just want to put something in the background while I work. So it does have my recommendation if you're looking for a legitimate place to watch free stuff, with commercials of course. But anyways, I truly believe that Millennium Actress is a very special movie. I even remember the first time I found the film. I was flipping through the channels, not looking for anything in particular, when I came across it. It was the final scene of the movie, and even without the context of what was happening, I found myself getting absorbed by it. After it finished, I felt that I really needed to go and see the entire movie, and I'm really glad that I did. And I hope that this video gets you interested in the film too. But if not, then I hope that you at least enjoy listening to me talk about what might be one of my favorite films. I already gave a general summary, but now I'll go ahead and just talk about the movie in more detail. When the movie starts, we're introduced to two filmmakers, Genya Tachibana and Kyoji Ida, who are looking to film a documentary on Tachibana's favorite actress, Chiyoko Fujiwara, who is now old and retired. As a side note, these two make for a really fun duo, because you have this huge fanboy director and his snarky and sarcastic cameraman. In my opinion, they are the heart of the movie. After finding Chiyoko Fujiwara, she agrees to an interview, and before it starts, Tachibana gives her a mysterious key that apparently used to belong to her. We aren't told what it is for right away, but we can tell that it's something really important. So with this key in hand, she begins reliving her life. Back to Imperial Japan in, I believe, like the 1910s or 1920s. No dates are said, but just imagery and context, we can tell roughly when this time period is. And the story starts with Chiyoko as a young girl, who was being scouted for a filmmaker, because they want to make like propaganda movies. The two interviewers, Tachibana and Ida, are literally in the flashback. They're watching and reacting and capturing everything on film, but not literally. It's more like, visual symbols. They are writing everything down, recording this interview, and then they are brought back into the story and they're experiencing it as if they're actually there. After being scouted by a filmmaker and she's deciding on if she wants to become an actress, because she's still young, she has a whole future ahead of her, she encounters a bleeding man who's on the run from authorities and makes the spontaneous decision to hide him. It turns out that he is an artist that works with a group actively opposing the government and the war. And as she hides him in a storeroom, they become friends, and they promise that after he leaves, they will one day meet up again. Now this mysterious man, he's like this painter, he's not depicted with a face. He's like a hat, or he's always in angles, and so he shades over the eyes, and we don't get any details on what he looks like. And I believe it's supposed to be like, because she's telling the story, and it happened so long ago, that Chiyoko doesn't remember what he looked like. And I wasn't sure in my first watch back when I saw it the first time if I was looking too into that. But the more I researched this film, especially for this video, I realized there's a lot of visual things intentionally included. Even like the wood in Chioko's house has all these rings from the tree rings as supposed to show how old she is, because all of her stuff is old. They say in the movie that every time there's the moon, there's like hope, and earthquakes are symbol of like big changes. So I was like, if they have all these details, then the decision to not give this man a specific face, I feel is very safe to bet intentional as well, and that I'm not looking too into it. Back to the story. While out of the house, Chioko returns to discover that this painter had fled, and it seems that the authorities were hot on his tail and they were about to find him, so he had no chance to say goodbye and he left, leaving behind a key, her only memento of her friend. We aren't told what this key is for or what it does, but that's all she has to remember him. So then she runs after him because, she wants to say goodbye, she wants to see him again. And she goes to the train station thinking she could see him there. And then next thing we know, suddenly it's a movie set. She's recording a character saying goodbye riding after this train. And it's such a clean transition and it's very vague, like how much of this scene was her movie. This is the storytelling of this film. It's their own style, and it's made it very apparent that this movie is going to be a story through stories, like a play within a play. Any scene that we see in her past could actually be also a movie scene that she's filming, or maybe a mix of both, and we're supposed to interpret what is the movie and what is her past. And it can be very confusing to some people, but I think it's a really cool way to tell a story. And I hope I explained it in a way that makes sense. But on this movie set, she's in character saying goodbye. We learn that Chioko decided to take this acting job, not because for fame or anything like that, but because she wanted a way to leave her town with the hope of seeing this mysterious painter again. And now throughout the story, we are constantly shown scenes of her life and scenes of her movies. But there are constants so that you could still put together a story. Like the movies that she's in always parallel what she's doing in her actual life. Like she's looking for this artist, and in comparison, her movie roles could be a princess trying to get to her husband, but then she gets cursed by a witch to never find him again, which is actually used for important imagery later. Her movie could also be she's a brave astronaut and she's looking to find her lover, going off alone to do so. So her acting roles always parallel her own life goals and what she's doing in her life. And that makes the transitions even better because it seamlessly goes into her life, into movie, into her life again. And Tachibana, the director of this interview, he's so great. He's like such a fanboy. It's so fun. He somehow supports Chioko through the flashbacks. Like, as she's flashbacking into a movie where she's a princess, he becomes a samurai and fights for her. Even like takes a shot for her and he like feels it, but not like really. It's played comically because, he's not really back in time and he couldn't have been there to help, but it's all for fun. You get this image of this guy pretending that he was there, always ready to help Chioko out. And then all while Ida just watches with disbelief every time. He's always like, what am I watching? And there is a lot of these scenes, but they're still very important, even though it's vague on if this happened in a movie or not. Like one scene where through the movies we were shown that she meets with this mysterious painter. But once again, he's still on the run from the police, or in the movie, the Shinsengumi. She almost reunites with him, but then in the movie it's shown that he's caught by authorities, leading us to conclude that he was arrested in real life, and the two are once again separated. But this time, Chioko has no clue where he ended up, and while we don't see that in the real life, we see that in the movie scenes that she played. Time passes, life changes, World War II happens and ends, so a lot had changed. And Chioko goes from this young actress just starting out to a now mature actor who's constantly getting pressure to get married. Now that the war is over, the government has changed, the painter would have no reason to hide. So Chioko begins to lose hope. Will she see him again? Is he trying to see her again? Should she keep looking for him? And throughout her self-doubt, we keep seeing this witch and her curse that was from her movie. It's not a real curse, but she keeps seeing it. And every time she sees it, it's kind of like her doubt growing, and she wants to see him again. But some things you have no control over. In this period of time, we learned that a young Tachibana worked for the studio that Chiyoko acted at, and he has always been a huge fan, even back then, which is really cool to see. It shows how pure his admiration for her is his entire time, you know. He has been her #1 fan his whole life, and not in a creepy way, in a very wholesome, like, I want to help her out, you know. I don't even care if she sees me, I just want to be her fan. And yeah, so Tachibana sees this big important event that happens in her life, where the key is lost on set one day, and she begins frantically searching for this key. And emotionally, she starts to break down because she starts to think about the fact that she doesn't know where this key goes to. She doesn't know this painter guy really, or what he looked like. And it's like her having these doubts, they start building up. It's as if it's like a symbol of her doubt winning. She loses her innocent dream that she had as a young girl, and she gives up on finding this key. And, you know, similarly, she gives up on finding this man that she briefly met. Giving up, she decides to get married to a director, even though she doesn't love him. And for a time, she reluctantly accepts her life where it is. But you can tell that she's not happy. She just bottles up her feelings every day, accepting this is her life, her dream wasn't meant to be, until suddenly she meets one of the police officers who was constantly chasing this painter many years ago. He searches out Chiyoko because he knew she was always looking for him, and he feels guilty that he withheld a letter that was meant for Chiyoko from this painter, proving that yes, he did try to contact her, briefly sparking her dream once again. Finding this out, she reads the letter. She learns that he lived in Hokkaido, so she immediately runs off, drops everything to find him, even in the middle of this policeman's story, so she doesn't hear everything that he has to say, which gets revealed later. And this leads to a running shot that is really good. It's my favorite scene from this whole film. As she's running towards her goal, you know, like Hokkaido, she just wants to find him, see if he's there. Her past and her characters that she played runs with her, constantly transitioning to, you know, different perspectives, different time periods, different characters. And as more and more obstacles are shown from her own movies, you know, especially like The Witch and Her Curse, she keeps going, masterfully showing that in every movie she filmed, she had one true goal in mind, you know, finding this mysterious painter from her past. And it's just a really nice scene. And this scene transitions to the filming of her final movie. Apparently, we don't see it, but she still did not find him. And after seeing the witch's figure one last time, she finally gives up on ever finding the painter for real, and retires from acting, ending her story and bringing us back to the present day. You know, and ends up like a very sour ending of, you know, that's it, she gives up then. That is, you know, until this interview started and she was given the key again and starts reliving her life. And now that the interview is over, Chiyoko collapses and is sent to the hospital in an ambulance, you know, as if she was holding on just to finish the story. On the way to the hospital, Tachibana tells Ida the rest of the policeman's story that not even Chiyoko heard, because she left halfway through and he was there that day as a worker. The policeman explained that in the day that the painter was captured, he was tortured to death because he refused to leak any info, so unknown to Chiyoko. This entire time, she never really could have reunited with him and was only chasing after a memory. Tachibana never told her this, and probably because he didn't want her to feel like she wasted her time dreaming, you know, because he always saw her dream as like a very beautiful and pure thing. Chiyoko, dying in her hospital bed, thanks Tachibana for bringing her key, reminding her about this dream that she had, you know, this dream that she let go of many years ago. Holding onto her key, she decides that she wants to chase after this painter one last time. Perhaps she knows that he's gone now, or maybe she just kind of figures, you know, she's old, he's probably gone already. But the key point is that now she'll die holding on to not just the key, but like the innocent dream that she had as a young girl. You know, I guess she's holding on to like hope, you know, her dreams that she let go of. We're given one last movie transition where Chiyoko, now old, flies off in a rocket as a clear metaphor for her passing away, deciding that she once again will pick up her dream and chase after this mysterious painter. Surprisingly, her last words are that it does not matter if she never meets the painter again. After all, it's the chasing after him I really love. The rocket fades away, and the movie ends. It's very clear that the movie's message is along the lines of like, it's not the destination, it's the journey, or that the act of dreaming is what people really love more than the dream itself. And like, that might sound cliche, but I feel that Millennium Actress captures it so well that it manages to avoid being cliche. And to me, the movie is just something truly special. So yeah, as I end off, I just want to say, check out Millennium Actress, or any of Satoshi Kon's movies really. I can promise that even if you listen to me just talk about this movie, there's so much more to the movie that you just gotta watch to appreciate. Like, I barely include most of the many symbols of the movie and what they could represent because it began to sound like rambling, so I didn't include all that. But yeah, I'd love to read your thoughts as well if you have any. Does the movie sound interesting to you? Did you already watch this movie? And I just want to say, thanks for watching my video on a roughly 20-year-old movie. It's probably not the most relevant subject right now, so it does mean a lot that you stuck around. With that, I'll catch you all in the next one. Later.